Okay, ready to dive into this whole relationship thing and build a network that actually works, not just, collecting business cards.
Right.
We're looking at Keith Ferrazzi's Never Eat Alone. I gotta say, I'm already hooked.
Yeah, it's a classic, and for good reason. Ferrazzi really nails why relationships matter, not just for climbing the career ladder, but for a richer life.
Totally. And he doesn't sugarcoat it. Starts off with the story he was a caddy at a country club. Not exactly born into the elite.
Mhm.
But he noticed something about the successful people there. It wasn't just them working hard on their own, it was their network. Like they genuinely helped each other out, not just business deals, but everything. Their connections were their secret weapon.
That's fascinating how Ferrazzi frames it. Networking is a game.
Yeah.
We often think of success as this solo climb, but really we're all on a playing field and there are rules. And Ferrazzi says understanding this relationship game is key
Hmm.
to leveling up no matter where you started.
So, less about networking like we traditionally think of it, and more about what the dynamics of how relationships work.
Exactly. One thing he tackles right away, waiting till you need something to reach out, building those relationships before you need them, that's crucial. He compares it to planting seeds. You nurture them so they're strong when it's harvest time.
Makes sense. Don't wait till you're desperate for a job to start connecting. But okay, how do we actually build those relationships authentically? I struggle with the whole networking thing, feels forced.
Yeah, I hear that. Ferrazzi emphasizes shared interests, offering value, genuinely caring about others. Like instead of just showing up at a conference hoping for the best, be a conference commando.
Conference commando.
Yeah, do your research beforehand. Identify key people you want to meet. Find ways to offer them something valuable.
Okay, I am stealing that phase. Conference commando. That's a game changer. But, gotta admit, I'm also that person who dreads small talk. Any tips for those initial connections, making them feel, I don't know, less superficial?
This is where it gets interesting. Ferrazzi actually challenges the old rules of small talk. Instead of safe topics, he says, be vulnerable. Open up a bit.
Wait, really? Vulnerable right away? That's counterintuitive.
It might feel that way, but think about it. Authenticity builds trust. Sharing a personal anecdote, or even admitting a challenge you're facing, that makes you relatable, memorable. He tells this story about a dinner, conversation was going nowhere. Until he opened up about what was really on his mind, changed the whole dynamic.
So instead of the weather, I could mention a project I'm struggling with, or a goal I'm working towards, something real.
Exactly. Find those genuine points of connection. It ties into another point, warming up the cold call. Don't just reach out blindly, do your homework. Find a shared connection on LinkedIn. Mention an article they wrote. Offer something of value up front.
Strategic, but genuine. I like that combination.
And this continues even after that initial connection. Ferrazzi talks about pinging, staying on people's radar even when you don't need anything.
That's where I trip up. Doesn't that feel insincere? Like you're just using people.
It's a valid concern. But find genuine ways to stay in touch. An article they might like, congrats on a work anniversary, even a birthday message. Ways to stay top of mind without being pushy.
Thoughtful, not transactional.
Exactly. It goes back to building the relationship before you need it. You're nurturing that connection over time. So when you do reach out for something, it's not out of the blue. It's coming from a place of genuine relationship. Now, this brings us to social arbitrage. Sounds kind of complicated, but it's not really.
Yeah, when I saw that in the book, I was like, oh no, math.
Mm.
What's social arbitrage like in relationship terms?
It's about leveraging those relationships to create value, not just for you, but for everyone involved. Connecting people who can benefit from each other. Sharing knowledge, resources, making the pie bigger.
So not just collecting contacts, but actively connecting them in a meaningful way.
Exactly. Frozzy gives some great examples, like hosting dinners, bring together people from different industries, becoming that go-to source for info in your field, or even just sharing summaries of interesting books with your network.
That makes sense. And it ties back to that offering value thing. I think people get stuck on the what's in it for me with networking, but Ferrazzi's saying the more you focus on giving, the more you'll get back.
He has a whole chapter on generosity,
Mm.
and he argues it's not just about being nice, it's a strategic advantage.
Ooh, okay, I'm curious. Any specific examples of how that plays out in building a network?
He used to send handwritten notes to people he admired, offering to help with projects, expressing appreciation for their work. He'd introduce them to people who could be helpful to their careers. And he found that willingness to help, no strings attached, led to opportunities later on.
So not keeping score of favors, but creating this Reciprocity, mutual support.
Precisely. And it makes me think of another point, finding and sharing your passions. Passion makes you more interesting and attracts the right people.
I love that. Way more appealing than the whole fake it till you make it thing.
Right. It's more than just being interesting, though. When you're genuinely passionate, it gives you something unique to offer, something to connect with others over. He gives this example. A struggling CEO trying to fit the corporate mold, not finding success. Ferrazzi helped him find his unique point of view, his passion, and it completely changed his company's trajectory.
That's a powerful example. Authenticity being this driving force in building a network, not pretending, but leaning into what makes you unique.
And that leads to something a lot of people struggle with, mentorship. Ferrazzi is a huge advocate for both being a mentor and seeking one, essential for growth, both personally and professionally.
Mentorship always kind of intimidated me. Like, I don't have enough experience to offer someone else. And then on the flip side, how do you even find a mentor?
Ferrazzi tells this great story about his own mentor. Pat Lecanto, the CEO of Deloitte, didn't just give career advice, he challenged and supported Ferrazzi, became a real advocate for him within the company.
So more than just advice, it's like genuine support, advocacy.
Exactly. And being a mentor isn't just dispensing wisdom. It's a two-way street. You learn from your mentee, too. Keeps you fresh, challenges you to think in new ways.
I can see how that'd be valuable. But finding one, you don't just walk up to someone and say, be my mentor, right?
He recommends identifying people you admire and then finding ways to add value to their lives before asking for anything. Could be helping with a project, sharing an article, even just a thoughtful email.
So build the relationship first, then the mentorship can grow from that.
Makes sense, right? And a mentor doesn't have to be some high-powered executive. Could be a peer, a colleague, even someone you admire online. The key is finding someone with experience you can learn from, who's willing to invest in your growth.
Okay, all this talk about connections is making me want to get out there and network. But before we do, curious what Ferrazzi says about personal branding. That's a term I hear a lot, but not sure I totally get it.
He has a whole chapter on that too. Your personal brand is basically your reputation, what people think of when they hear your name. And nowadays, first impressions are huge. So be intentional about how you present yourself, both online and offline.
So not just a logo or tagline, but the whole vibe you give off.
Exactly. The values you embody, the expertise you show, how you interact with others. He gives tips like dressing professionally, crafting a good bio, having a consistent message on your online platforms.
Sounds like it's an ongoing process, not just a one-time thing.
Absolutely. Your brand evolves as you do. And be authentic. Don't try to be someone you're not, or pretend to like things you don't. People can spot a fake.
Back to authenticity again.
Exactly. Be genuine, be helpful, be yourself. And don't forget storytelling.
Oh, storytelling. How does that fit in?
Ferrazzi says stories are powerful for connecting emotionally. They make your message more memorable. Think about your own experiences. Share them in a way that's engaging, relatable.
Especially when you're trying to stand out, make a lasting impression.
He even compares it to how the Dalai Lama shares his message. Finding that emotional connection, inspiring action. Practice your storytelling skills. The more you do it, the more confident you'll become.
In today's world, that emotional connection is more important than ever.
Totally agree, but it's not always easy. Building a network, achieving success, takes effort. Ferrazzi reminds us of that. He tells a story about losing an election. City Council, he didn't take it seriously enough. You can't just coast on charm or connections. You got to put in the work.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, but yeah, it's not magic.
Right. It takes time, effort, genuine desire to connect. And speaking of effort, he also talks about being persistent.
Any examples of that in real life?
He shares this story, how he offended William F. Buckley Jr., the writer, by misrepresenting their relationship. Backfired big time. Taught him about honesty and integrity in networking.
So not just making connections, but nurturing them, being mindful of your actions.
Exactly. Building relationships based on trust and respect.
Speaking of building relationships, one thing that stood out was finding your tribe. What does he mean by that?
Finding like-minded people, those who support your goals and values, like Benjamin Franklin. He had this club, the Junto, for mutual improvement.
We all need that support system, people who believe in us, challenge us.
Absolutely. And Ferrazzi argues we're all interconnected. Our success depends on others. We're all in this together.
That's beautiful. Speaks to community, collaboration.
And it ties into another point, thinking about your legacy. What do you want to be remembered for?
Whoa, that's deep. I'm not sure I've thought about it like that.
He challenges us to consider our impact on the world, how we can use our network, our resources, to make a difference. Legacy isn't just professional achievements, but the relationships, the people we touch.
Our lives have meaning and purpose.
And it's never too late to start building that legacy.
No matter where you are, there's always opportunity to connect, make a difference.
And sometimes that opportunity is right in front of you. But it can feel intimidating approaching someone you admire, especially those considered powerful or famous.
Oh yeah, been there. Remember that time I froze meeting name of celebrity or famous person? All I could say was, hello, like a dork.
I remember. But it's important to remember everyone's just a person.
Right, and Ferrazzi talks about that. Even the most successful people appreciate genuine connection.
Be respectful, genuine in your approach, not overly eager or desperate. Find common ground, a shared interest to start the conversation. Could be their work, a hobby, even a simple compliment.
Do your homework first, right?
Yes. Learn about their background, interests, what they're working on, shows you're truly interested.
And be clear about your intentions.
Exactly. Why are you reaching out? What do you hope to gain? Advice, mentorship, just building a relationship.
And if you can offer something in return, that's even better.
Absolutely. Your expertise, connections, even just your time and attention, a sincere compliment goes a long way.
He also says don't be too pushy.
Yeah. Respect their time and boundaries. If they don't respond, don't bombard them with messages. Follow up once or twice, then let it go.
Not everyone's going to be receptive.
Right. Be okay with rejection. Don't take it personally. It's not always about meeting the most powerful people. Sometimes the best connections are those who are kind, supportive, share your values.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
It's like Ferrazzi's saying we need a whole different mindset about relationships, not seeing people as like tools to get what you want, but approaching them with genuine curiosity, a real desire to connect.
He uses this great analogy. I love it. He used to go to events with a checklist of people to meet, like collecting trophies almost.
Oh, yeah.
But he realized he was missing the point.
Kind of like that what's in it for me thing we talked about earlier.
Exactly. When he shifted to just connecting authentically, no ulterior motives, the relationships became way more rewarding, personally and professionally.
Being present in the moment, appreciating each interaction, not trying to force some outcome. I like that. Less pressure.
He also talks about being a good conversationalist, which sounds basic, but it's something a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, tell me about it. Always worried about saying the wrong thing, being awkward. Does Ferrazzi have any, tips for that?
He says ask open-ended questions, show genuine interest in the other person, really listen to their answers, make them feel heard and valued, and find ways to connect personally, share stories, be vulnerable, let people see the real you.
Like that vulnerability thing we discussed earlier.
Exactly. Go beyond small talk. Create a space for genuine connection.
So to recap, never eat alone. Build relationships before you need them. Be a conference commando. Warm up those cold calls. Be vulnerable and authentic. And remember, generosity is strategic, not just nice. Did I get it all?
You nailed it, I think. But one thing I'd emphasize, the overall theme. Building a network isn't about manipulation or showing off. It's about genuine connection, mutual benefit.
Finding your tribe, your people, building something that supports you and makes your life richer.
Perfectly said. That's what Ferrazzi's getting at, a life that's successful, ain't fulfilling, through the power of relationships.
I'm feeling inspired, ready to put this into action. Any final thoughts for our listeners, something to take away?
Ferrazzi says, never eat alone. And I think that's a great motto. There's always an opportunity to connect, chatting with someone in line, reaching out to an old friend.
It doesn't have to be fancy events or high-powered people.
Exactly.
And remember, it's ongoing, this whole relationship thing. Be open to those opportunities. Be curious. Put yourself out there.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
There you have it, folks. A deep dive into relationships inspired by Never Eat Alone. Thanks for joining us. Keep connecting, keep learning, keep growing.
See you next time.